Welcome to the special interview today. We have biomedical engineers here. We will now be discussing about the engineering design process, which will make use of new technologies. Now I'll pass the time to them to elaborate more. The medical application we have researched and chosen is hospital beds. A 3-year-old girl was being crushed by the hospital bed, while another 11-year-old was being strangled. That without proper design and specification, it may cause injury or even death. Therefore, we would like to redesign the hospital bed so that we can prevent such incidents from occurring.
Next, specifications and constraints. Firstly, the bed design is very important. It is because we have to consider the fact that we will be placing the sensor in between the mattresses. Therefore, the hospital bed mattress must not be too thick. We would suggest that the top layer, where the patient's body is in contact with the hospital bed, can be just a thin layer. Then, the sensor will be placed in between the top layer and the rest of the hospital bed in order to be able to sense the patient's condition. The constraint in the past is that, for example, if there is no sensors and the patient have to place a wire patch sensor on their chest to monitor their condition. Therefore, it will be inconvenient for the patient to move around freely. These sensors can allow the patient to move around the bed freely even without worrying.
Now, let's move on to concept generation. In the past, hospital beds design are very simple, with just a simple bed frame and a mattress for the patient to rest comfortably. Nowadays, as medical technology have improved, the design of medical products must also improve. These beds have special features both for the comfort and well-being of the patient and for the convenience of healthcare workers. Common features include adjustable height for the entire bed, the head and the feet, adjustable side rails, and electronic buttons to operate both the bed and other nearby electronic devices.
Moving on to design consideration. We have considered the design of the hospital bed so that the sensor in between the thin layer of the hospital bed will be able to detect heart rate or shock at different levels. For instance, the position of the patient plays a part. Even though the patient is being elevated to a different position, the sensor must be able to detect the patient's heart rate. The sensor must be able to detect a certain distance of motion. For example, the patient is seated upright from the bed. The patient's heartbeat can still be monitored by the sensor. Therefore, with this, the beds will have better functions, so it is able to ease nurses' attention as they have to take care of many other matters. It can also alert the doctor earlier about the patient's condition.
Now, let's move on to prototyping and testing. When the prototype is ready, a test will be carried out. A dummy will be used during the test. The dummy ranging from underweight to obese category will be laid down on the bed to test out the limits of the sensor. The dummy will be attached to a monitor that can emit a real person's heartbeat. This is to simulate the real situation. We will also test out the distance of the dummy. For example, we will place it from a distance away from the bed where the sensor can sense its heartbeat. We will then record the distance that the sensor can detect the heartbeat. We would change the sensitivity of the sensor if needed.
Design modification and improvement. Once prototyping and testing is done, the design will be modified to make the updated evaluation. Improvement will be made to make it more convenient, comfortable, and simpler.
Which is production and conclusion. And so in conclusion, if it meets the specifications, only then it can be sent for production. And therefore, patients will feel safer on the bed. And then,
I start already.
Oh, you start already. Stop.